Well, it's been a difficult week in Belfast across the city. There's been a very deliberate attempt by reactionary elements within loyalism, within unionism, to thwart the democratic wishes, the democratic decision of this council, of a majority of elected representatives here. And it's been very difficult. A number of threats have been made against a number of elected representatives, including myself, members of the Alliance Party. Some of our staff were assaulted. So we know it's been a difficult week. We are appealing for calm across the city. We're appealing to unionists and loyalists to draw breath and draw back from these type of activities. But of course, we look back, we made the right decision. It was a democratic decision. We voted for equality, for change in the city. We want to see a city and a city hall which is open to everyone, every tradition. We have no desire to deny anyone's Britishness, but mutual respect means respect both ways. That means recognising the British tradition in this city, recognising the Irish tradition as well, our tradition, our culture, and also recognising that in 2012 Belfast is a different place, is a more inclusive place, and this city hall needs to reflect the broad range of traditions and cultures in the city, not just one culture, not just one flag, but every tradition and every flag.
Councillor McVeigh, there's been some criticism in the media that in some ways this happened in the mouth of Christmas and it was avoidable. Could you take us through the chronology of how the decision was made, and indeed on the back of many of the good decisions around the Covenant, etc., etc.? Give us your view of how all this came about.
Well, there's been obviously a very hysterical reaction from within the unionist parties, within some elements of loyalism, to characterise our decision to remove the Union Jack from the Ulster Hall, from Duncrew Street, indeed from flying over the City Hall 365 days, as some attempt to undermine their sense of Britishness, their place in the city. Or somehow this was a knee-jerk decision on our part. Well over a year ago, I wrote to the Chief Executive here and asked that an equality impact assessment be carried out into the flying of the flag. Right from the start, following the last election, as a party in here, we prioritised promoting equality within this institution, promoting equality in this city. Equality in symbolism, identity, investment. And equality is about mutual respect. It's not about denying or excluding anyone. We know what it is historically to be excluded. We were excluded in this city for half a century, for centuries. We're not about to visit that upon any other community. The decision we took last Monday was the end of a year's intensive discussion following our request for an equality impact assessment. And to some extent the decision to have the vote, the final discussion and vote on Monday the 3rd of December was totally beyond our control. Once we had raised the matter, once the equality impact assessment had begun, there was a very definite and specific process that had to be followed. For example, it was 3 months of public consultation. So the timing was really beyond our control in that respect, but it certainly couldn't have been and wasn't a surprise to anyone in this City Hall, to any of the parties. We've made a number of very important decisions over the course of this year. For example, early this year we were the first local authority in Ireland, and indeed in Ireland and Britain, to vote in favour of civil marriage. Early this year I myself, along with a number of colleagues, attended a civic dinner here in this City Hall, hosted by the DUP Mayor, to commemorate the signing of the Ulster Covenant, UVF Covenant. We have made a number of decisions over the course of this year which we think has demonstrated our commitment to mutual respect. And no one has anything to fear from equality, because equality means what it says. It's about equality for everyone, equality for every tradition. And we think we should be, and we have no doubt we will be, measured, be judged on our ability to deliver equality for every community. We're as much concerned about unemployment on the Falls as we are about unemployment in Shankill. We're as concerned about educational underachievement in Tigers Bay as we are about in any part of niceness Belfast. So we have demonstrated, I think, in a number of very practical ways that when we talk about equality, we really mean equality for every tradition. And of course, when Unionists talk about equality in many cases, they don't mean mutual respect. They don't really understand or recognise what power dividing really means. There's been a lot of discussion, of course, about the flying of the Union flag above the City Hall. But over half the population of the city owe their allegiance to a different flag, to a different tradition. Now, we don't expect, we wouldn't expect Unionists to support, you know, the flying of an Irish tricolour over the City Hall, and we haven't asked for that. That's a discussion for another time and another place. All we have asked for is that our tradition, that our language, that our sport, that our communities, the people we represent, are equally respected in this City Hall. And that means changing how we do business here. That means making sure that when we invest, for example, in the city, that we invest in every community without fear or favour. That means that when we are reflecting upon the symbols here in the City Hall, that we are trying to ensure that there's a certain amount of balance. And that means respecting not just the large traditions, you know, the orange and green traditions of the city, but it's also about respecting that we have other communities now in the city. We have a large Chinese community, a large Polish community. We have a very vibrant gay community in the city as well. So this is about respecting all those traditions and recognising all of those traditions, not one.
Councillor McVeigh, were you surprised personally at the events on Monday night and indeed subsequently on the streets of Belfast and beyond?
Well, I wasn't entirely surprised. I think we've all been taken back by the ferociousness of the response and how violent it has become and the level of intimidation and threats involved. Not just to our staff and indeed, but to quite a number of elected representatives, including the Alliance Party and ourselves, and members of the DUP as well. So we've been surprised at just how ferocious, but of course that just didn't happen by accident. Up until and just before the decision on Monday the 3rd to change the policy around the flying of the Union flag here in the City Hall, it was a very deliberate campaign by the main Unionist parties here in the city to ratchet up the tension around this issue. At a time, we recently delivered across the north over 100,000 leaflets highlighting the impact, the likely impact with the welfare reform bill that the Tories are bringing through in Westminster, how that would impact in our communities. At the time we were doing that, the Unionists were distributing 40,000 leaflets, whipping up loyalist and Unionist fears, talking about the flag being tore down. And of course, what many of your viewers might know is that there is a very intense political battle taking place between the DUP and the Alliance Party in East Belfast. The Alliance have a sitting MP, Naomi Long, in that constituency. And it's a well-known fact for some time that the DUP have been trying to outmaneuver the Alliance, have been trying to put them on the back foot, and they've been trying to make it as difficult as they can for them electorally. Unfortunately, as a consequence of that policy of stirring things up, they have unleashed onto the streets again a monster that they don't appear to be able to control. And in the week that's passed, those people have been ramped. Some of those people, and they are relatively speaking a small minority of people. We had, when you go back to the Ulster Says No period and the Anglo-Irish Agreement, we had hundreds of thousands of Unionists outside this place protesting. We had just over 1,000, I think, at the very most, protesting here on Saturday. So it's a very small number of disgruntled Unionists and Loyalists who are engaging in this type of violent activity, who are threatening elected representatives. They don't represent the vast majority of ordinary Unionists. I have no doubt that many Unionists are annoyed, may well be angry about the decision of the Council to reduce the flying of the flag over a number of Council venues, and not least in this place as well. But I think they understand that there are sinister elements within, particularly within the UVF, within all its paramilitarism, who are trying to stir up and wind up tensions for their own party political gain. And it's time for all that to stop. You know, people have been injured, cars have been attacked, people have been threatened, homes have been attacked, and there's no place for that. There should be no place for that in the peace process. So we want to appeal to ordinary, decent unionists and loyalists, many of whom we meet on a daily basis in our constituency offices in this City Hall. Many hundreds, thousands of unionists contact our constituency offices every year seeking advice and support, and they know that we will treat them with equality and with respect. And I think that many people would be horrified at what has been happening across Belfast over recent days. And I think it's important that we reassure those people that we do respect their Britishness, but we also respect or expect them to respect our tradition, our culture. This is about mutual respect. So that's the best way to proceed. You know, respecting each other, respecting the democratic process, and putting an end to this madness on the streets. And the Unionist parties, Unionist leaders have a big responsibility this time to be trying to calm the situation, to make sure that they don't inflame the situation any more than they've already done, because it's going to end up in someone losing their life. Our priority will continue to be making Belfast City Hall in particular, a more inclusive place, a place where every tradition, including our own, is welcome, and where every citizen feels at home and feels that they have a place in the city.